Hi, this is Julie for Beadaholique, and today I'm excited to show you how to use Easy Mold's silicone rubber mold making kit. And this is a liquid mold, and inside the kit you're going to get a set of instructions, and you're going to get part A and part B of the silicone rubber, and you're going to combine those to make your mold. But before we begin, I want to show you everything you're going to need for this project. You're going to need some rice, and this is just household rice. You're going to need some polymer clay, and it needs to be sulfur-free. A product like Sculpey is sulfur-free, so that's going to work fine. You can also use hot glue, from a glue gun. I'll show you what we're going to be doing with that in a moment as an alternative to the Sculpey. You're going to need a stir stick. Now I've laid down some protective sheeting, and I've actually got a little piece of white paper here as well because I really like working on white. It's a little easier to see. You're going to need an object to make a mold of. We have a great funky plastic bangle, and that's what we're going to make a mold of. You're going to need an X-Acto knife, a pair of scissors, a measuring cup, which is also going to be the same cup that you're going to stir your silicone in, and you're going to need a plastic container. This is just a disposable one. You can get this at the grocery store, save your yogurt container. Any container is going to work as long as you can dispose of it and cut it. Those are going to be the two characteristics you need, and you need to make sure it has a nice flat lid part to it. So let's begin. So first off, what you're going to want to do is first determine how much of the silicone rubber you're going to need, because we don't want to mix all of this. That's going to be wasteful, and you're going to want to make other projects with it. So to figure out how much we're going to need, we're going to take our container. When we actually pour our rubber, what we're going to do is have it in this type of orientation where the bangle is actually resting on the lid, not on the base. But for measuring purposes, we're going to take the bangle, put it in the bottom of the cup, and here is where our rice comes in. Pour your rice over your object. Kind of squish it around a little bit. Okay. Make sure it's fully covered. Now, I'm also remembering that I'm going to have this flipped over, so it's going to need a little bit more than what's actually here. But that looks pretty good. It's fully covered. The top part of the bangle is not poking through at all. So now I'm going to fish my bangle out. I'm going to take the rice, pour it into a measuring cup. Right. Now I want to add a little bit because I do want to compensate for the fact that it's going to be in the upside down position, and that's got a wider diameter to it. So I'm going to make this easy on myself and just go up to the 8-ounce mark. Now when you're making a mold, it's going to be totally different measurements for whatever you're making, but just for the purposes of this video, I know I'm going to need about 8 ounces. I'm going to take my rice, get rid of it. I could pour it back into the bag, whatever will work. And now what I would normally do is I'm going to clean this cup thoroughly. I don't want any other residue from the rice to be in this cup, but just for purposes of the video, I'm just going to grab a clean cup. But you don't have to waste that many cups. 1 cup is going to be able to do for all of this. So next, I want to cut off the base of my Tupperware. And make an incision with the X-Acto. Now if you're really comfortable with an X-Acto, see, sometimes that can happen, and that's why I brought the scissors. I just like to make a little cut with the X-Acto, and then I take my scissors, and I'm just going to cut the base. There we go, you can just discard that now. Now here is where the Sculpey comes in handy. So you need to secure your object to the base. Otherwise it's going to float up, or you're going to get a lot of the silicone rubber underneath it, and that's going to be a problem when you try to get this object out and want to be able to pour your mold. So you can use a sulfur-free clay, or you can use a hot glue gun. We have the clay on hand, so I'm going to go ahead and use it. And I'm going to condition it in my hands just by rolling it, squishing it up. You're going to need to do this for a few minutes until it's really quite pliable. Okay, this is good to go now. So I'm going to now roll it into a long tube shape. You can actually Go ahead and just roll it out on your table. I can already tell this is going to be too much, but that's okay. Always reuse the clay that we're not going to be using in the project. The clay that we're going to be using in the project, you're just going to want to dispose of afterwards. Stretch it. What I'm going to do here in a moment is I just want to be able to trace it along the edge. So I'm trying to get as thin as possible because I don't want it to really affect the look of my mold too much. A glue gun would probably be a little easier and a little quicker, but this works fine as well. All right, I'm happy with what I have. So I'm going to take my bangle and I'm just going to place this along the edge. Kind of pressing it to it. I want it to create a bond. Take this, flip it over, center it on my plastic lid, and press into place. I actually could feel right there a little bit of a vacuum effect going on, so I know I have a good seal. And I'm actually going to take my fingernail right now and just trim this up a little bit because I don't want it to affect the look of my mold too much. Okay, there we go. It's ready. I'm going to return the body part of this piece of plastic, this Tupperware. Push it down firmly. And now I am ready to mix up my silicone rubber. So I'm going to take part A, and I'm going to do 4 ounces because remember we needed it to be 8 ounces in total. Grabbing part B, which is bright, bright blue. I'm going to grab a clean stir stick and I'm going to fill this to the 8 ounce mark. Now I am noticing that as this is settling, it looked like that white went more to the 5 ounce than the 4 ounce. I'm not quite sure how that happened, but that is telling me I'm going to have to add more of the blue part B. So kind of keep that in mind as you're working. Just keep an eye on what's going on. It looked like it was at the 4 ounce point, but now it's looking much more like it was at the 5 ounce. This cup is just barely big enough. Okay, and now we're going to stir. And we're going to stir until all the colors are fully blended. And it's going to take you guys probably about 3-4 minutes to get this fully stirred together. You can see we now have a consistent blue color. There's no streaks of white in there, so I feel like this is ready to go. And unlike the silicone rubber mold putty, where you only have a couple minutes to work with it, you have about 45 minutes to an hour to work with this, so you're going to have plenty of time. So now we're going to pour it into our mold, and it's actually best to pour on a side, not in the middle, and that's going to help to push out the air bubbles. And we're also going to hold our cup well above our object. So I don't want to be pouring down here, I'm going to be pouring way up here. And I want to get a nice thin stream going. And that's going to help allow the air bubbles to escape as you're pouring it so they don't get caught in your mold. that looks good. So now we're going to let this cure overnight for 24 hours and then we'll come back and we'll finish our mold. We've waited patiently for 24 hours. You can see that our mold is solid now. It's just rubber. There's no blue coming off on my fingers. This is completely cured. And now you can see why we actually poured it with the lid being the base, because what we can do now is flip it over and take the lid off of the bottom here. So this is going to be the top of our mold, and now we need to cut away the sides. You can do that with an X-Acto knife, or you could use a pair of scissors, totally up to you. You can see that clay rim we made, which sealed the bangle to the actual lid, and now we're just going to pop the bangle out. Once you've removed your object from your mold, what you'll want to do is you want to clear away any of this clay dust. I'm just going to go ahead and wash my mold and let it dry, and then I'll be ready to pour some resin.